Welcome you back to the Patrick Netherton Show, 1130 The Tiger, 103.3 FM. We are pleased to welcome in the first-year head coach of the Northwestern State Demons. He is Blaine McCorkle. Coach, how the heck are you, sir?
Good, Patrick. Good to be with you. How are you today?
Hey, it's look, camp has started. It's everybody's 0-0. Hope springs eternal here. What have you enjoyed about kind of turning the page and getting into the meat of your season now?
Well, for one, it's just good to be back on the football field again. You know, all summer long, you guys are lifting weights and running, and you're just kind of counting the days to get back out there. So it's been exciting just to be back on the field with the guys and doing what we love to do. But we're off to a good start. We've had a good first 3 days, and the guys are working extremely hard. Our product's got to get better. There's things we got to improve, but really, really pleased with the intensity and the effort and the physicality the first 3 days. So at this point, we're all 0-0, but I like where we're at.
So, this is a clean slate. This is a kind of almost a rebirth of a program at this point. What do you look for in the early going? I know you're a big toughness guy, instilling that culture. Kind of tell me what you look for early in camp that tells you, hey, these guys are picking up what I'm trying to instill in them.
Well, what you just said is the big one, is the toughness piece, and toughness not being, is a guy going to play hurt and can he hit hard? I mean, that's toughness. Everybody can define that, but toughness then, are you going to, stay awake in the meetings late at night and early in the morning? Are you going to be on time? Are you going to be at all the meals? Are you going to be dressed the right way at practice? How are you going to handle adversity? So those are the pieces of toughness we're really looking at to see, who can we trust and who can we depend on. And the other big piece is you really want to evaluate your new talent because, as you mentioned, this is really a complete redo. So there's close to 60 guys on the roster right now that weren't here last fall. Some of them were here in the spring, but we got a lot of guys that we've got to evaluate and see where they fit and make sure we got them in the right spot. So that's a big piece of this first week as well, is seeing who we've got.
So I'm kind of curious, do you have in your mind, hey, these three guys are definite starters, we know that, and the other 8 positions are open? Is it 11 on offense and 11 on defense that are open? Like, how are you kind of approaching this with, you do have some guys back, but as you mentioned, a ton of newcomers coming in. How do you evaluate sort of position by position?
Well, yeah, that's a good question, and no, nothing's set. And I tell players all the time that, I've been doing this 26 years, and I've never set a depth chart. Players set the depth chart. So you have to have a starting point. So day one, somebody's got to go out there first, but we're so early in camp, and we're such a brand new team and a young team that every position is really wide open. So that's the one thing that's made these first 3 days exciting, is you can see guys competing for jobs because there is a lot of parity out there amongst positions, and we've got to figure out who some guys are. So, sometimes those final depth charts aren't set until game week, and the big positions, your quarterback and things like that, you want to try to sell those things as fast as you can and get a guy comfortable. But every day we're fighting for jobs out there, and that makes it fun.
Well, let's start then at quarterback. It's the most visible position on the field. Do you have in mind that this person is going to be a starter? Is it a completely wide open room? Kind of give us the evaluation of the quarterbacks and sort of what the battle is looking like.
Yeah, right now, coming out of spring practice in these first 3 days, if we were to play today, JT Fayard would be our starter, and I've got a lot of confidence in him. He had a really good spring and kind of separated himself a little bit from the other guys, and he had a really good summer. He's a student of the game. He studies film. He takes good notes. He's very business-minded. He carries himself like a quarterback. He's a big, tall guy with a great arm, and he's getting better all the time. The exciting thing about JT, he's a redshirt freshman.
Yeah, he's a baby.
He's got 4 years left to go. So, yeah, that's right. So he's still very much a sponge. But there is some competition in there. Quaterius Hawkins played a good bit last year, and he's in there battling. And we brought in Kahi Graham from Hawaii in the spring, and he's a talent. He's got a really, really accurate arm and left-handed kid that's a pretty dynamic player. And then we signed a freshman, a high school kid, Abram Johnston out of Baton Rouge at Parkview Baptist, who has a lot of the it factor. He's a really, really gritty kid. So we've got 4 guys in camp that are all capable. But, yeah, if we're playing today, JT's our guy, and I think everybody in our team has a lot of confidence in what he brings to us.
So give us an idea of what the identity of this team looks like, offensively and defensively. You know, you came in talking about you're an old school guy, and you and I kind of had some fun with the idea that what you do is considered old school now, but it is. But what's your identity offensively? What's your identity defensively?
Yeah. Well, you're still the only guy saying old school, but I'm not saying that.
I mean, look, I mean, you know, when you roll out there and there's more than one back in the backfield, and you know, like that stuff is like, are you lining up in the I formation at some point? Nobody even knows what that is anymore.
Well, I don't know. Michigan and Alabama and the 49ers and half the NFL knows what it is, but that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, we're going to have a fullback, we're going to have a tight end, and we're going to play good, sound, pro-style football. Just like when people turn on Sundays, that's what you see. And, you know, a lot of times at the college level, especially the lower college levels, and a lot of times in high school football right now, everybody's trying to make a name for themselves and get that next job and trying to out-guru each other. Well, I'm just trying to coach good, clean, sound football, and that's what it is. And if people want to call that old school, I'll take that as a compliment, but it's what the people at the highest level do. And it's how kids are going to have an opportunity to play on Sunday, is playing in that type of offense, because there's so much carryover to it. But, yeah, we're going to be physical. You know, we're always going to work to establish the run. You know, our passing game is going to be, you know, play action, move the pocket, and then we're going to take our shots when we need to. But when you start in what we call 21 personnel, you know, with that tight end and fullback, it allows you to grow your offense into anything you want it to be, because if you start there and spread out, you can always come back. You know, a lot of times the people who start spread out all over the field, you know, you get a windy, rainy day, or somebody's got you locked down, they're just a better athlete than you on the edge, where you're stuck. So what that does is allow us the opportunity to play a lot of different styles of play if you start there. And we have a room full of receivers that are really good and can run. So I think we're going to have an opportunity to be really, really multiple in what we do. I think people are going to enjoy watching it. Defensively, same thing. We want to be fast and we want to be physical. You know, if there's anything I want our team to be, is clean, sound fundamentally, and physical. You know, the game's still played with helmets and shoulder pads, and we're going to use them. And we're going to run the ball, and we're going to hit, and we're going to tackle well and be clean. And, you know, I hope people, you know, the people in the city of Natchitoches show up at Turpin Stadium. They look on that sideline, they look on the field, and they say, oh, okay, that's a group of guys that's organized, know what they're doing, and they've got the plan. And the kids are buying into it. So hopefully that's who we are. It's just a clean, sound, fundamental football team that's doing everything they can to win a game and not out-coaching ourselves. You see, I think so many people make mistakes just out-coaching themselves, trying to do too much. But you got to meet your kids where they are. And right now we're a team that hasn't won a game in 640 days now, so we got to find a way to win a game.
You know, you inherited I mean, just for lack of a better term, a bit of a mess, right? It was the shortened season. We all had to go through it. You know, a lot of people were like, why would anybody take this job? You inherited. How nice is it to just get to the season now after having, you know, I've had to ask you multiple times about what went on last year, even though you weren't here last year and it had nothing to do with you. How nice is it just to put the pads on, get back into the routine, get into fall practice, and be able to just turn that page?
Yeah, it's nice because, I mean, these kids are here to play football. It's what they want to do. And you know, for these kids, football is the best medicine they can have. And, you know, like you said, you and I have talked about it a good bit. And it doesn't bother me when people ask me the question about what happened last year, because it's the reality of who we are and where we're at, you know, and I think it's a fair question to ask. But the reality of where we are is we're a team that went through a tragedy last year, you know, had to shorten the season, and we've got half of our football team and some of our staff too, to be quite honest, is still struggling with that. And it's a daily struggle to wrap your mind around loss and grief and those things. And, you know, as I've said before, a little bit of that did attract me to the job, because if we're coaching for the right reasons, why was everybody not attracted to this job? You know, everybody wants the ready-made one where they can make a buck and go get the next bigger job. But, you know, those guys, I think they really need to ask themselves sometimes, why are you coaching? I mean, this is a job. Natchitoches is a great city. It's a school with a ton of tradition. This is a place that's won 12 conference championships. I think we've got the second most FBS wins of anybody in the country, next to Youngstown State. So it's a tremendous history and tradition, but it's a place that's reeling and hurting. So if you're a coach and you call yourself a coach, you ought to be attracted to a situation just like this, to speak into the lives of young men and see how good you are.
Talking to Blaine McCorkle, the head coach of the Northwestern State Demons, joining us via the Pearl Shreveport hotline. I'm interested in blending, right? You blend your coaching staff a little bit. There was one holdover, but you bring your defensive coordinator with you. You bring in an offensive coordinator who is familiar to Demons. Even before I was at NSU, he was coaching at Northwestern. Right. But then you come in and you inherit a strength and conditioning coach, Jason Smelzer, who is by all accounts, everything I've heard is tremendous about him. You inherit a training staff that you have to get to know. What is that like to get to know not just your own players, but sometimes the coaches that you're bringing in, and oftentimes the ancillary guys that help make a program work, like a strength and conditioning, like a sports medicine?
Yeah, I think you're on the right track there. The coaching staff, the actual on-the-field coaches, that's sometimes the easiest part to blend because we're all just in here all day watching film, talking ball, we're on the board, and we're all kind of going the same direction and trying to do the same thing, and we speak the same language. But that ancillary, that was a great word, Patrick. I'm very impressed with your vocabulary.
I did get I did have a perfect score in English on my ACT, so I've got grammar and vocabulary down.
I hear you. But that group of people, your support staff, your academic people, your trainers, your managers, your strength coach, those are the ones that you really have to blend the quickest because sometimes they've been there and they kind of get set in their ways, and this is just how we've always done it. But if you're going to turn around a program, the worst phrase you can use is, well, that's just how we've always done it. Well, they've got to buy into our culture and how we do things, and or it's not going to work. And, our strength coach, you mentioned Jason Smelser, has been phenomenal. He has bought into our culture as much as maybe I've ever seen anybody do anywhere. I mean, he came in day one. He said, "Yes, sir, I'm here to go to work. What do you want? How do you want to do it?" And it's awesome. It's really, really fun to watch. I think what makes him unique is he's a very gifted and smart strength coach. He understands the science. I mean, he's got these GPS units on these kids, and he's giving me constant feedback about where they are, and it's really neat. But he's been a football coach, so he kind of gets that part too. He's been a head football coach. I mean, that's a rare combination to find. So he's been just incredible, and having him in my hip pocket every day at practice is awesome. And then Cal Padgeloma, our trainer, same thing. He's really bought into our culture and what we're trying to do. And then our football ops guy, Dan Korn, is a guy that wasn't on our staff the last couple of years, but was here in the past for 5 head coaches, and I was able to bring him back. And he's just got a wealth of knowledge about this town and the university, and he knows where the bodies are buried, that's for sure. So he's a great resource to have around. So those guys have been great in helping us get going, and can't thank them all enough.
The schedule, compared to some schedules that I've seen, I mean, one year Northwestern State played 3 FBS schools in one season, which was just insane. Your schedule is reasonably manageable. It's not to say you don't have good opponents on it, but you don't have any FBS opponents on it. Or I should say Power 5 type FBS opponents. You got Tulsa, you got South Alabama, more in that group of 5. You don't have the big buy game, if you will, the LSU, the Baylor, that type of thing. What do you look at in terms of the schedule? And Tulsa, Prairie View at home for the opener. Weber State is good. Southeast Missouri State's very good. You play them on the road at their place. What do you feel like you're looking at in terms of those first 5 non-conference?
Well, you're right. There's no Power 5 in there, but really, in the big picture, when you look at it from our standpoint, whether you're playing a group of 5 or a Power 5, it doesn't matter that much. You're still playing somebody with 85, soon to be 105, I guess, scholarships. Yeah. That recruits for a little bit different budget and a little bit different talent pool. Their transfers that come in are coming from the Power 5s. A lot of ours are coming from them. So all those things are still significantly different. And what happens, too, and we don't care about this because we're just trying to manage us, but the perception sometimes is, well, we're not that much different than Tulsa or South Alabama or, teams like Monroe or Tech. We used to beat those guys. Well, they're not the same level anymore. It is a different animal, and you're playing a bigger, stronger, faster, usually and honestly more talented team. But you have to do that. That's part of it. So we do have 2 of those on the schedule, but play them both on Thursdays. So what that's going to do is help us the following week. So we play Tulsa on a Thursday. That really gives us 9 days to get ready for Prairie View A&M, which is our home opener, and we'll need those 2 extra days to heal some bumps and bruises and get ready. And I'll say this, our first home game on September 7th against Prairie View A&M, I can't wait for. I'm excited to be in Turpin Stadium. I've never seen a game here myself. And what I would challenge everybody listening to this to do, show up to that game because these kids, as we've talked about a lot, they've been through a lot. And, there was conversation last year about would we even play football at Northwestern State in 2024. Well, heck yeah, we are. We're going to play football. There's a group of kids that are proud to put on that purple jersey and run out on that field. And I challenge everybody, show up to that game and support them. Let's just fill this stadium up for that first one and let them know you're behind them and people care about them and love them. And Northwestern State football is not going anywhere. So sending out the challenge to everybody listening to show up and support these guys on September 7th for sure.
Well, look, I will take the L if more people show up and fewer people watch the ESPN broadcast. Like we'll take the L on that one because there does need to be a lot of people out there. Like you said, these are kids that need to be loved on a little bit, right? They need to know
right.
that the community is supporting them. It's great to do it in person. It's even better to do it loud with 15,000 of your closest friends out there. So yeah, Prairie View A&M in week 2, definitely get out and support them. Coach, before we let you go, I'm curious kind of your acclimation now to Natchitoches and Northwestern State. You've obviously been there now for several months. Kind of give me an idea of learning a new town and learning the boosters and the people that are involved. How has that process been going for you?
Oh, it's been outstanding. I mean, my family and I really have fallen in love with Natchitoches in a hurry. It's just like we talked about last week at the Southland Media Days, which you did a great job with that, by the way.
Well, thank you.
The whole thing was really well done. But we just really enjoyed the town. It's a cool town, and it's a college town, which everybody loves being a part of. And there's great restaurants and Front Street, and just everything about it's a neat place to live. But getting to know the boosters, the people in town. People are really excited about Northwestern State football here, and it's pretty cool. And my wife's adapted well. She's Italian, but Italians and Cajuns are very similar.
Sure.
They got the same connection. They both are loud and boisterous and like good food and have a good time. So she's fitting in good. People don't know she's Italian. They think she's Cajun. That's okay. And then, my son's here in the 9th grade, and he's playing football over at Natchitoches Central High School right now, actually playing for Coach Laird, which has been a really cool thing to kind of be a part of. And he's having a great experience, and he comes over here after practice every day with a smile on his face and meeting new friends. So we're proud to call this place home, and hope we call it home for a long, long time.
Well, we certainly wish you the best of luck. Obviously, we'll be chatting here before too long as the season gets underway. We'll be bringing you Game 1 of Northwestern State's home schedule against Prairie View A&M over on ESPN+. Coach, continued health and happiness throughout the course of fall camp, and we look forward to catching you on the field soon, brother.
All right, Patrick. We'll see you soon, man.
Thank you. That's Blaine McCorkle, the head coach of the Northwestern State Demons.